Today, I wanted to have a little bit of a conversation, just like an open chat with you guys, and uh, focus it on learning martial arts. Now, there are discussions in books on learning martial arts, but I don't think anyone's really touched on it the way that I approach it, or really described it the way that I approach it bit for bit. So I thought I'd share this with you guys, and maybe we could have an open conversation about it, and you could benefit from it, and I can also benefit from your feedback. So let's get into it. Now, when it comes to learning martial arts, I like to approach learning in general as something where you learn vertically and laterally. So, what does that mean? So, for example, we can take a look at the front stance. Now, previously in a video, I talked about the front stance being that you have one foot that's planted to the ground and your body is channeling that energy down into the ground, right? So we can look at that as a vertical where we're applying it in a forward pressing position where we're directing or channeling the energy that's coming from the front. And we can apply it vertically by saying that, oh, you can also apply that to redirect energy that's coming from the back. So it's a deeper extension or a deeper learning of how to apply front stance and just that specific instance of redirecting or channeling energy going in a linear fashion. So instead of just going from the front, you're also going from the back. And so I'll kind of show that one more time. Okay, so again, front stance, right? And then you can shift the feet to kind of redirect any energy and shunt it off to the side. But you can also take it and go to the back, right? So front and back. But we're still in a straight line. We're still applying the idea of what a front stance is. So that's application of vertical learning. So laterally, we would want to apply a front stance in a variety of scenarios. So that might be applying it in striking, applying it in kicking, applying it in grappling. You could apply front stance for joint locks and things of that nature. You can also apply your front stance for developing strength, and we can see all of those things. Let me provide for example, right? When we apply it laterally, we have this front stance, and we can apply that as a cross. Now, previously, I've shown that you can apply a cross in 3 different ways that I know of, and there are probably more, but I know of 3 different ways, and that's a vertical. But laterally, we can look at it in the context of a front stance being applied for a cross offensively. So we're going forward and striking. But we can also apply it defensively when we reverse, right? So instead of it being a strike, it can be a frame where we're pushing someone off and out of the way, and then we can come back. And then we can come back with a lead hand strike. Okay. So again, I'll show it from this angle. The first thing you'll probably learn in a front stance with applying a cross is going to be to attack somebody, but you can also do it to defend yourself. And so the idea, you can see my head is here, and now it's back here, and I'm using this arm as a frame, and then I can come over and back forward to do a lead hand strike and attack again. So there's this idea of vertical, or understanding the details and the nature of whatever body movement or body posture you're learning in martial arts. So you definitely want to explore that, and that's something that I do all the time. my coach will show me one thing in, in like the simplest fashion. And I'll go home and I just start exploring it. Okay, how can I do this when I apply it in these ways? Whether it be striking, kicking, grappling, maybe it's joint locks, maybe it's for exercise. What are the different muscle groups that I can work out? What are the benefits that I can get? And then I want to expand vertically in each of those categories. Okay, how can I do this offensively? How can I do this defensively? Is it a mobility thing? Is this specifically or strictly something that I can only do standing up? Can I do this on my back? Uh, how can I really get the most out of this? So you can see we have our vertical and we have our lateral when we're exploring ideas and concepts. And I think for me, this has really helped me to develop my martial skills because I'm not just doing what my instructor or my coach shows me, right? And you just have to have that self determination in learning. You have to have that curiosity and see yourself as a student in all things. Like, I know one thing, but do I know the variations of it? Can I expand on it? Let me put it another way. So, our brains have this capacity or this quality where we compartmentalize things, right? So, going back to that cross and front stance, I think most people wouldn't think of doing a cross to be a defensive movement. It's compartmentalized as someone showed me how to attack using this, so this is the only way that I'm going to think about it. But you shouldn't do that. You don't want to compartmentalize. What you want to do is take core concepts and begin to iterate on them both vertically and laterally. So you want to have the things that you learn bleed into um, different compartments. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow you to have a wider range of skills and abilities that you can build on. And some of those are going to be high percentage things that are going to work for you when you apply them against a resisting opponent. And some of them are going to be low percentage, but you're never going to know until you test it out. You know what I mean? But that's my approach when it comes to learning martial arts. But there's a bit more, right? So we can explore and decompartmentalize the things that we learn, but we also have to be careful because that neuroplasticity can come back to bite us. So we are highly adaptive creatures that going back to that neuroplasticity, we can learn a lot of things, just about anything, and we can adapt to just about anything. So what that means is if you learn a technique one way, but if you're not deliberate about keeping yourself practicing it that specific way. For example, when I started learning Muay Thai, I had quite a few different ways of doing a roundhouse kick, but none of them were the Muay Thai style of roundhouse kick. And it drove my coach crazy because, like, every time we'd meet up, like, my brain had come up with a new way to do the kick, like, every day for, I think, like 2 years. And we were training like 3 times a week. So it was very consistent training. But again, because I was going out and trying new different ways of doing things and exploring and iterating. I was always finding different muscle groups to activate, different body alignments, and that can be a painful thing, right? Because of that neuroplasticity, um, we can train and develop new ways of doing things, and if we're not careful, then it can it can become the new way that we do things, and that may not always be the right way to do things. So, and again, like that always comes back to bear when you're testing it against a resisting opponent. So, uh, what does that mean? How do you overcome that? Well, the way to overcome that is you need to have another experienced martial artist with you, constantly observing you and giving you direct feedback. So that's the best solution in my mind, is the immediate feedback that you get. And you can do this. I've done this online, training with Mr. Bernardo, and I've done this in person, training with Hakan, my Muay Thai coach. So one was doing Tong Sudo, and the other one was doing Muay Thai. And the value that you can get from having that instant feedback is that you can make the adjustments faster and prevent yourself from deepening the neural pathway that you've discovered, right? So your brain's just constantly reshaping itself. It's finding new ways to do stuff, and the more you do it, the more burned in that pathway becomes in your brain and in your body. So you just want to make sure that you're doing repetitions on the things that are going to yield you the best results. So explore, but do so mindfully, and have someone there to review it, so that if you start learning to do something that is not giving you the best results, I don't want to say incorrect, but sometimes things are incorrect, right? Certain alignments that just don't fit naturally with the way the body is made to function can be damaging, and that would be a wrong way. And then there are other things where, you know, uh, keeping your hand down and dropping it down, but not knowing when to do that. There's times when you can do that, and it's not wrong. And then there's times when you shouldn't. It just doesn't need to move, so you keep it in a guard position. And so that's where it's not necessarily wrong, but it's just you're just using it in a at a time and a place where it's not appropriate. Okay, so right, like I'll be more direct about it. So if someone's doing a shot to the body and you just want to come down with your elbow to deflect it, now you're dropping your hand, but it's doing so with good reason. Okay, and then when it's done, it comes back. When you're throwing your strike, it should come back. Sometimes you can bait it, throw it out and drop it, baiting someone to come in so that you can catch them with a roundhouse kick. And that's something that I do. But again, it's knowing when to do it appropriately. But so let's go back. You want to make sure that you're drilling the basics and deepening the neural pathway for the basic things that are going to keep you protected and give you the desired results. And then outside of that, you also want to explore and look at new and interesting ways to counter, attack, defend, develop strength, improve your flexibility. Now, there are textbook things that you can do, but there's also benefits to iterating and improving on things. And if you have the idea that things don't need to be iterated upon, that's fine. But just know that someone's going to continue to experiment and evolve and iterate, and they're going to figure out how to take your stuff and tear you to pieces. They're going to run circles around you. It happens, right? Just pay attention to how things like boxing gloves change the way that people um, fight in the street, or how MMA or things like UFC and MMA change the way that people uh, attack in general. So, like, suddenly you start seeing all these fight videos where literally high school kids are doing rear naked chokes. And it's like people are evolving, things are changing rapidly. Um, Information is getting out. And as information gets out, people are adopting new tactics, new strategies. So, I mean, it's very important that you yourself are continuing to uh, practice the standards that are going to keep you protected and keep you growing uh, in the correct time period. so, so only doing something that worked in the 1800s is not going to suffice for things that are being done in the 21st century in 2024. And the things that are being done in 2024 are not going to work in, you know, 2120 or whatever, like 100 years from now. It's not the stuff that people are doing now. I I can't even fathom what people will be doing. But today, things are just radically different than what was happening when I was in high school. so, so people are developing new skills, new abilities. Information is being spread faster, and the general public's ability to defend themselves is the core skills are changing, and you can see that as uh, information is being put out on media. Now, they might not be as well trained, but even a person that's not well trained for professional fighting, still doing a high percentage technique is going to be fairly dangerous, right? So, right, even if someone is not professionally trained to do a rear naked choke, the chances of them harming you while performing a rear naked choke on you are exceedingly high. So, so you want to you want to be able to do the basics and explore. So that's what I'm getting at. So do your verticals, right? Don't just take whatever someone teaches you at face value and then say, hey, this is all there is to it. Explore it. What else can I do with this? What is the body alignment? What happens when I shift my foot this way? What happens when I shift my foot that way? What happens to my body alignment? And how can I apply this in these 5 different ways? And then get deeper and deeper and deeper, and expand wider and wider. Think of it like a tree. A tree branches out, and you have all these little areas that you can explore. And some of those areas are going to be super effective against certain styles of martial arts or certain situations that you might find yourself in frequently. And so those are the things that you might want to explore deeper and develop more than others, right? So if you live in a city where everyone's shoulder to shoulder all the time, you're gonna explore things like joint locks a lot more than kicks, right? It's just the nature of the beast. So you're gonna be wanting to be more proficient and explore that. If it's more spread out, you live in a more spread out area like I do, kicks are fine. And so that's literally why I'm much better at kicks than grappling and joint locks. So those are things that you're gonna want to explore in your learning. But I just wanted to touch on those things. So neuroplasticity, being intent with your movement, and being vertical with understanding techniques, and not compartmentalizing, but just breaking down those compartments and being lateral with how you can apply those techniques. And lastly, I just wanted to touch on this idea on neuroplasticity and getting those repetitions in. So make sure that you're doing things very particular. And so if you notice that you're too fatigued or you're too tired, just get out of that mindset. Don't, if you're like into being a macho guy or whatever, I know that's like, I don't want to offend anybody, but it's not going to work. Um, the more detailed you are um, about your repetitions, that's just how you're going to be. And when stuff hits the fan. So, what does that mean? How do you do that? How do you get more detailed? Nutrition. So your brain needs nutrition, and the way to get it there is to make sure that you're eating a well balanced meal. So you don't want to like make sure that you're getting all of your macronutrients at a base level. That's it. That's if you're not getting your macronutrients, um, your brain's not going to perform at its best. And so what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're getting the correct macronutrients. Second, make sure that your blood is flowing to your brain. So doing warm up exercises, getting plenty of movement in, and third, making sure that your mind is focused on the task at hand. So be very intent about what you're doing. Um, Relaxation exercises like the wushy posture that I teach, that kind of stuff. Learn how to zero in your mind and just be very intent on the thing that you want to do. And then lastly, get those repetitions in, but don't study cram. Think about how you learn. If you're going to take a test, you don't cram everything in at the last minute. You take little bites. You study at your peak mental state. For athletes, I think they call it like there's like a brain frequency or something. But all I'm just gonna say is like just to get blood flowing and nutrients flowing to your brain. Make sure that you calm yourself, relax, and focus. You want your body to be loose and limber. So things like stretching, the stuff that happens at circle walking is very important. Learn how to relax yourself and do those repetitions. And don't overdo it. If you the moment you start to realize you need to pay attention to your body, have good body awareness in the moment that you realize that your technique is starting to fade, you're losing accuracy, things are not as they should be to the highest degree, then it's time to take a break. You don't have to stop, but just take a break. Give it like 5-10 minutes, recharge, rehydrate, make sure that you're hydrated. If you feel like you're having a dip in nutrition or your brain's just done, then just, replenish. And then give it some time, refocus, get pumped up, and then go back into it. And then once you get to a point where it's done, like you can't focus anymore, or your muscles are fatigued and they're just not in the position that they should be, you're done. But that's if you're trying to max it out. what I do is I just take little bites here and there, and you do it over a long period of time. So that's that's kind of the key, right? Again, you study for a test, you don't cram. You take little sections and you study it, you internalize it, you look at the vertical of whatever you're learning, and then you start to apply it in different areas, different disciplines, and look at how it works in those different areas. For another example, like if you're studying inorganic chemistry, uh, you learn the core concepts around that, and then you start putting in different areas like physics, uh, quantum physics, things like that, uh, or industrial application, like business application, that kind of stuff, business management. And then you start to put the pieces together, and it gives you a broader understanding of chemistry, right? So different things, uh, lateral and vertical, and that deepens your knowledge. You want to apply that to martial arts and pretty much to everything. So that is my little rant. I think I want to wrap it up because I feel like I'm just kind of doing like a lot of books do, where it just kind of like gives a million examples to connect with the reader. But let me know your thoughts. What is your approach to learning martial arts? Is this something that you as well do, or do you do something else? Are you more strict? What are the results that you're getting? I mean, clearly you can see the results that I'm getting, and it's working really well for me, but I'm always open to exploring new ways to learn. And I even to the point where I even look to AI to challenge my ideas on learning and look for new ways to get better results. So share your thoughts. I'd like to hear them, and maybe we can keep this conversation going. And if this works out really well, then I'll look to do more videos like this. But other than that, be sure to subscribe if you find my content helpful or useful to you at all. And I will see you in the next video.